Hello, hi everyone. Thank you very much for being here today. My name is Dora. I'm one of the organizers of Qesher, and you can also find here Sebastian. It's the two of us who started this project exactly 5 years ago now. We were just discussing today how the idea came about exactly 5 years ago to start this project. And our aim is to introduce Jewish history, Jewish culture, and Jewish present day life everywhere in the world where we can find or where we could find ever. And some of you probably know, I see that there are many people in the audience who are regulars or members or who join us often. So thank you very much for being here. And I'm sure you all know this. Um, and I'm also want to greet very warmly everyone who is joining us for the first time. So the way we introduce you to Jewish history and heritage is by inviting speakers who are very knowledgeable about their fields, or they're from there, experts from the place, or somehow know a lot about a specific topic. And we also have a separate series, which is of course very connected, which is our Qesher Book Club. Today is a bit of both, because we are very much going to focus on one specific place's Jewish heritage, which is Egypt. And it's also a Kesher book club because we're very glad to welcome Yoram Meital, who is the author of Sacred Places Tell Tales. I'm just going to introduce him briefly, and then I'll pass the word to Yoram to let us know about his book. Yoram Meital is a professor of Middle East Studies at Ben Gurion University. He has conducted extensive research on various topics related to Arab societies during the modern era, focusing on Egypt's social, cultural, political, and legal history. From 2017 to 2021, he served as the historical consultant to the Jewish community in Cairo, actively participating in documenting and preserving Egyptian Jewish heritage. He's published a lot of different articles and books. Today, we're going to focus on Sacred Places Tell Tales, Jewish Life and Heritage in Modern Cairo, which was published in 2024. So Yoram is going to share with you about his book and about his research. And if you have any questions, please put it in the chat and we'll open up for Q&A after his presentation. So Yoram, the floor is yours. Thank you for being here today and
Sure.
sharing with us about
Hello and welcome everyone. Thank you, Dora and Sebastian, for having me tonight on the Qesher podcast. I'm honored. I'm also very happy, delighted, in fact, to see some familiar faces, friends. Especially, I'm delighted to see with us Magda Harun, the president of the Jewish community in Cairo, and her daughter, Heba. They both with us, and I'm very happy that they are here. Well, on Sunday, February 3rd, 2017, I received an email from Magda Harun, head of this community in Cairo. Her message was straightforward, yet significant. It says, we would very much like you to be our historical consultant for a project documenting Cairo synagogues. That one request set me on a 4-year, maybe more than 4-year journey through silent stones and ancient scrolls along hidden heavy wooden doors of Cairo's synagogues, both ancient and modern. Can you see the PowerPoint now?
Not yet, no.
Not yet? Sorry. And now?
Yes. And I just want to tell everyone we were trying to make this full screen earlier, but this is the only way it works. But Yoram made it as big as it can possibly get. So we hope you will be able to see.
Okay. So what you see here is Cairo's synagogues map. And I just started saying that I just received this email from Magda Harun, who was a kind of an adventure for me, a very unusual experience that lasted for 4 years. Now, during this journey, I discovered invaluable documents and artifacts that shed light on the social structure of Cairo's Jewish community and the initiative it sponsored. These sources offer insights into communal administration, welfare and educational programs, and the challenges, I would say, faced by both leaders and congregants of this community. In turn, these findings convinced me that synagogues are not merely monuments, but living archives of Jewish life, both past and present. Given our limited time tonight, I will offer only, I would say, snapshots of the key developments, the core arguments, and central questions framing Sacred Places Telltales. My goal is to illustrate why these prayer houses matter, how they can be read as historical text, and what they reveal about memory, identity, and community. Before we turn to the synagogues themselves, we should first set the context in which their story unfolded. Cairo and Egypt during the late 19th and the early 20th centuries. Understanding this transformative era marked by technological breakthroughs, demographic shifts, and competing imperial interests helps explain why synagogues emerged as vital communal hubs. Well, let's start. In 1869, the Suez Canal opened, immediately turning Egypt into a hub of global trade and imperial politics. Steepman ships from Europe, India, and East Asia navigated through the canal, bringing goods, ideas, and people. In the following decades, Egypt underwent social and economic transformations of unprecedented scale. Alexandria and Cairo and the newly established cities around the Suez Canal attracted migrants from all backgrounds. European entrepreneurs, Middle Eastern and North African merchants, and numerous Jewish families from Salonika, Izmir, Aleppo, Baghdad, and even Eastern Europe and Russia, each in search of opportunity within a vibrant cosmopolitan environment. Between the two world wars, these demographic shifts peaked. About 80,000 Jews made Egypt their home, alongside 100,000 Greeks. And of course, we have to mention the Coptic Christians comprise approximately 12 to 15% of the Egyptian population. Now, under the capitulation treaties and British colonial administration, foreign and minority communities benefited from legal and economic privileges, that integrated them into the core of Egypt's commercial, financial, industrial, and infrastructural enterprises. Although they made up only a small fraction of the population, their economic influence far exceeded their demographic share. You see the numbers here. I don't want just to read them aloud. For many Egyptian Jews, this period represented a golden era marked by security, prosperity, and vibrant social life. Throughout the first 4 decades of the 20th century, Egyptian Jews held prominent positions in banking and commerce, gained fame on the silver screen, and created music that circulated widely across the Arab world. In Cairo, in Cairo's Jewish community, daily routines blended synagogue rituals, especially on Jewish holidays, with social welfare programs in communal halls and cultural gatherings in private saloons. Meanwhile, Judaism itself formed one dimension of a complex matrix that included cosmopolitan outlooks, professional ambitions, and nationalist sentiments. However, this period of prosperity unfolded amid profound societal and political transformations in Egypt. From the 1930s onward, widening economic disparities and growing resentment toward foreigners and other privileged minorities intensified. The campaign for full political independence, the rise of religious and nationalist movements, and the push to Egyptianize key state institutions gained momentum during World War II. At the same time, the conflict between Zionist and Palestinian factions escalated, culminating in the 1948 war, the first Arab-Israeli war, which further intensified this violent struggle. This conflict quickly resonated across Jewish communities in Arab and Islamic societies. As a major player in the Arab military and diplomatic efforts, Egypt felt the impact of its defeat on the battlefield, which significantly affected the country's internal dynamics. The Jewish communities that had existed in the region for centuries, some of the millennium, had dwindled considerably, and many synagogues that once served thousands of worshippers now stood silent. It is important to recognize that while the Arab-Israeli conflict profoundly affected Jewish communities in the Middle East and North Africa, it was not the only factor in the disintegration of Jewish communities in this region. Equally influential were the domestic processes mentioned earlier, including efforts to Egyptianize various sectors. Undoubtedly, these developments set the stage for the political upheavals of the 1950s. Now, you may wonder, why focus on synagogues? Aren't they just buildings, stone and wood, benches and Torah arcs? If we seek to understand a diminished community, why not turn to newspapers, personal memoirs, or state and colonial archives instead? My response to that is that besides serving as places for prayer and Torah reading, synagogues also functioned as venues for social aid programs, community gatherings, and rabbinical courts. They further provided settings for life cycle celebrations, such as weddings, bar mitzvahs, and holiday feasts. People of all ages and genders gathered there on various occasions, and every aspect of synagogue design, from its location and layout to its furnishings and decorative details, features not only religious practices, but also social status, cultural preferences, gender rules, and shared values. Examining synagogues as vibrant centers of communal life allows us to uncover these layers and understand the identities of those who worshiped there, how they organized their communal affairs, and how they connected with the broader urban landscape. Examining synagogues as vibrant centers of communal life allow us to uncover these layers and to understand, I think, much better, and this is why I'm showing this slide right now, about the dynamic within this community. Just to point out two aspects or dimensions. The first is that since the early 20th century, what used to be the Jewish quarter, Harat el Yahud, in Cairo, um, underwent significant changes. And see the quote by the chief rabbi Ben Shimon, and you get this impression. He's talking about the expansion of the city of Cairo, and he's talking about the move of population, the Jewish of population, among others, who left these ancient areas of this historical city, and they ended up in new suburbs, as he wrote this, whose streets are wide and clean, and whose air is fresh. And there too, they built luxurious and beautiful synagogues. And you can see here down in this slide what exactly he is referring to. This is in one side, the very heart of one of the center street in center Cairo, and in the other side you see the internal or the prayer hall of Shara Shamayim in Adli Street, again one of the major street in downtown Cairo. Now, this observation underpins a central argument of the book that I'm presenting here. Synagogues were not merely passive monuments. They are active centers of community life. By synthesizing archival documents, material culture, and oral testimonies, synagogues can and maybe should be seen as living archives that continually accumulate new layers of meanings and practice. They also evolve as new caretakers repurpose synagogues in different period of times, adding fresh chapters to the synagogue's story. Moreover, the enduring importance of the remaining synagogues in Cairo and Alexandria brings us to the final, I would say, section of this overview, in which I discuss how in recent years Egyptians have rediscovered these sites, and by engaging with the synagogues have contributed to a wider revival of the local Jewish heritage. Now, this revival was noticeable between 2013 to 2021, contrasting sharply with the decades following the late 1950s exodus of Egyptian Jews, during which many synagogues fell into disrepair. Some of them were sold or were repurposed. By restoring and reusing these once neglected prayer houses, Egypt has reintegrated its Jewish heritage into the broader national, cultural, and historical narrative. Three questions underpin this transformation. Why is all of this happening now, in these years, 2013 to 2021? Another question, in which areas has this renewed appreciation of the Jewish past emerged? And how have different Egyptian sectors or actors responded to these rehabilitation efforts? My answer to the why now is that the post-2011 uprising, known as the Arab Spring, or in Egypt as the January 25th revolution, and the civic, I would say, debate over that emerged over social identity and political pluralism have sparked a renewed interest in Egypt's minority histories, Jewish, Greek, and Coptic alike, as a kind of a vehicles for articulating contemporary aspirations for inclusion and diversity. Public discussions about, I would say, minority heritage essentially reflect debates over Egyptian societal identity and the preferred form of government. I can say that Egyptian, or I would like to suggest that Egyptians engaged with the Jewish past, along with that of other minorities, to reinforce their view about the social and political situation in Egypt in the present. The first shift became evident in popular culture through novels, documentary films, and television series, and was soon reflected in state rhetoric and policy, which began to acknowledge Jewish contributions to commerce, the arts, the civic life, and in many, many other sectors. Here, for instance, just to give one example of this transformation, and what you see here in this slide is the Egyptian writer Kamal Ruhayem, who provided a diverse and complex reality in this trilogy centered on the life of one Egyptian Galal and his quest to reconcile his identity as the son of a Muslim who was killed in the Suez War and a Jewish mother in and all of this story is in the second half of the 20th century in contemporary Egypt. Now, it is interesting to see that I will not go here to the details about who is Kamal Ruhaim. Is a very his biography is extremely interesting, as he is coming from the heart of the security establishment in Egypt, and he made a career in the end of his life as a novelist, and get to be interviewed by many Egyptian media outlets. And here you can see one of his interviews in one of the major, maybe the major Egyptian newspaper, Al Ahram, and the date is March 2nd, 2021. And again, he was asked the same question repeatedly. Why you choose to focus on Jewish in heritage, or the Jews are the heroes of they are the protagonists, the heroes of this trilogy. Why is that? And he always gave the answer similar to what you can see in the left side of the screen. What I wanted to say is that intellectuals, not only novelists and filmmakers, but intellectuals and public figures have called for, I would say, unprecedented reassessment of the Jewish past, the Jewish heritage, arguing that Jewish communities belong at the heart of Egypt's story rather than being confined to the margins of the Arab-Israeli conflict. Now, this is very significant, extremely significant, especially if we take into account the circumstances that led to the dwindling of the community and this situation that the community stopped to work as a community with thousands of members since the 1970s, early 1970s. So what I'm trying to say that these developments underscore both the vital contribution of Jews to Egyptian society and the moral responsibility to preserve synagogues, cemeteries, archives, and Judaica, thereby affirming the Jewish experience as an integral component of modern Egypt's cultural tapestry and historical narrative. At the forefront of this dynamic is Magda Harun, who we have the pleasure having her this evening in this podcast. Through her reactivation of the Drop of Milk Association, and initiative conducted in partnership with Muslim, Copts, and Jews, she has, I would say, recast synagogue preservation as a shared Egyptian responsibility. To the question, who is responsible to this? Magda came out with this not only vision, but the concrete ideas that the responsibility should come from within the Egyptian society and Egyptian state authorities. These initiatives have gained widespread support. Initiatives by Magda have gained widespread support even as they face intensive backlash from ultra-nationalist factions, Muslim Brotherhood supporters, and sometimes, I would say, vocal objections from certain expatriate Jewish groups advocating for the removal of Judaica overseas. Now, this is a very sensitive and hot potato issue that I will just briefly mentioning here. If you want, we can go further in the Q&A. It is important to say that today, the Jewish community in Cairo safeguards a wealth of historically and culturally significant assets. It seeks the resources, financial resources, and institutional support by the state to preserve these assets within the very society and culture that created them. This principle of preserving these assets in the very society and culture that created them is a principle at the core of my book, my book's main argument, which says that Jewish communal assets rightfully belong in Egypt, where they have been an integral part of the nation's heritage for centuries. And one final point. In today's challenging context, the historical narrative of Jewish presence in Egypt and in Arab countries at large unfolds against the somber backdrop of the war in Gaza. This dangerous escalation in the heart of the Middle East intensifies debates over Jewish heritage in Arab and Muslim societies. In this context, it is easy to overlook that this has not always been the case. Exploring Egypt's rich Jewish history reminds us that Jews, Christians, and Muslims once inhabited the same land and shared common values until national borders and political turmoil scattered and divided these communities. Now, this talk invites all of us to view the book about synagogues in Egypt, not just as a study of stones and scrolls, but as a way to attune ourselves to the echoes of once vibrant community and to recognize how heritage, memory, and identity continue to shape our world today. Thank you for your attention. I welcome your questions about Cairo's synagogue or any aspect of Jewish experience in Egypt.
Thank you very much, Yoram. You actually still have like 5-10 minutes if you'd like to show us maybe a little bit of the synagogues.
I would be delighted to show more slides that I
Yeah, I
think
know you still have some beautiful slides, so I think it will be
I
wonderful
do
to
have.
see a bit more.
Yes,
And in the meantime,
I think it can help and add to this overview. Just by seeing the images or the statement in images about points that I wanted just to underline. So here you can see a statement from 2018 by the president of the Republic of Egypt, Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, in a well-attended international conference in Sharm el-Sheikh in Sinai. And the president was talking to a young audience of Egyptians and non-Egyptians who came to a massive conference, and he was talking about minorities' rights. Among other things, he said the following: if there are Jews, we will build synagogues. Listen to this: we will build synagogues for them. We will do so since the citizen is entitled to practice his religious rituals as he wishes. This is not a matter of interfere with. Now, this kind of a statement in this, the circumstances of the Egyptian state is highly important. First, it is unprecedented. Even President Sadat, who signed the peace treaty with Israel, never said something on record about the Jewish heritage or restoration or building even synagogues in Egypt. As you know, very few Jews live in Egypt today. This is not the point. The point is that he was talking extensively about the right of minorities, and this is the context that I tried to underline when I talked about this revival of minorities history. Let me go quickly to another slide in which you can see two prominent, I would say, figures, individuals who contributed significantly to safeguarding Jewish heritage in Egypt. So this is on the left side, you can see the audience. This is in the AUC, the American University in Cairo. Magda Harun and Albert Aryeh, the late Albert Aryeh, a very dear friend who passed away 4 years ago, talking to young students in Cairo about preservation of Jewish heritage. And this is not, I would say, one event. There are other events that aimed at engaged with young Egyptians mainly, with the Jewish past. On the right side, on the bottom of this slide, you can see something very, I think, I would say, surprising and I would say even encouraging. So this is 2017, November, and the community came with the idea to open one of the synagogues in Cairo and invite people, Egyptian, who might be interested in visiting a synagogue. For most of them, this is the first time in their life they get their foot in a synagogue. And according to what I heard in Cairo, community expected maybe 20, maybe 30 will be registered, and they open up for registration, and within 24 hours, they get thousands of requests to participate in this event. Now, I would say about 2 dozens visited the place, but they uploaded with this sophisticated iPhones and cell phones their experiences to the web. Talking about renovation of synagogues, so see these beautiful monuments in Alexandria, and this is the restoration of a synagogue inaugurated in 2020. This is a very ancient synagogue, and the whole project of this restoration financed fully by the Egyptian government, although, as we all know, the economic situation in Egypt is very bad, to say the least. And for them, it was important to make this effort, and they spent not few dollars in this beautifully restored synagogue. Another example you can see here, um, this is a plot of a Karaite Jewish cemetery, and you see the work of renovation. You can see the state of the one site on the left of this slide, and you see before and after the the restoration. Uh, there are so many other examples that I would like to share. But all these slides that you see here are from the very recent years. So someone is responsible for the cleaning of these prayer houses, opening some of them, and I already mentioned who are the main players in this. If you could just give me another minute, I will talk about a bit about the internal subgroups that constituted the Egyptian Jewry. And here I give you just one example. So this marble plaque is in the entrance to the Ashkenazi synagogue in Cairo, a building that still stands in the very heart of the Egyptian capital city. And as I hope you can see the letters, but it is written in Yiddish and in French. Okay. Uh, just a reminder, I would say, a message in a bottle that is coming out from the past, just to remind us that, in fact, uh, in Egypt, there used to be three Jewish communities. The majority belongs to the Sephardi local Egyptian community. This is the largest, the more, I would say, established and rich community with fantastic institutions and welfare institutions, a lot of services that provided through schools, anything that came to your mind is coming to your mind. This is a very prosperous community. This is the biggest one, the Sephardi Egyptian Jewish community. Another rabbinical community is the Ashkenazi community. And here we're talking about during the period of the 1930s, 1940s, I would say roughly about 5,000, maybe 5,500 Jews, Ashkenazi Jews. And it's fascinating to study how they get to Egypt, why to Egypt, when they immigrated, where they coming from. So some of them escaping pogroms in Eastern Europe, and they found shelter in Egypt. Others arrived in Egypt when the Nazi party came to power in Germany. And we have this documentation telling us stories about refugees from Nazi German coming and arriving in Cairo and asking the community for support, and they get supported by the community. And the third group is the Karaite, Jewish Karaite community, very rich history of Karaism in Egypt. And in fact, it was one of the biggest and important centers of Karaism. And this is a very unique community with their own cultural habits, values, and I would say a close attachment to the Egyptian culture and society. I think I'll stop here, Dora. What do you think?
Okay, there are many questions actually, so
Wonderful.
I'm sure we can also
I'm
continue
looking
like that.
forward. I'm looking forward. Let me take something to write down.
No,
Uh,
you don't need to write. I'll just read them to you. So first of all, Yoram, I want to thank you for sharing all this material with us. And I want to encourage everyone to read Yoram's book if you're interested in this topic and learn more about the synagogues and the Egyptian history and the Egyptian Jewish community. We will, of course, tomorrow share with you the link where you can buy the book, and we will share with you also this recording. And now I'm going to read most of the questions that came in. Some you have answered already, so I'll try to get to the ones that you haven't. Could you speak about the presence of Jews before the 1800s? Of course, briefly, because I'm sure there will be a lot to say. But if you want to say a few words about that.
okay. Um, so first I will show you this slide. Can you see it?
No, you need to reshare, I think.
Ah, okay. Uh, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay. The quote that I wanted you to see here is I would say, a direct response to the question. Okay, so this is a monumental, this is part of a monumental classic work by Shlomo Dov Goitein, who wrote, I would say, a pioneering book about that is based on the Cairo Geniza. Okay, and through the Cairo Geniza, who mostly, not all, but mostly preserved in Ben Ezra synagogue in Cairo. I don't have the time to show you slides of this wonderful synagogue. For a reason that no one knows, in this in a chamber in this synagogue, the local community kept their Geniza, their documentation, for almost 1,000 years. 1,000 years. And this was the Geniza emptied at the end of the 19th century. And Shlomo Dov Goitein and many others wrote wonderful studies based on the Geniza documents. He wrote a wonderful 5 volumes about Jewish life in medieval time. So the question was before 1800s. Um, well, I would underline 2 points. One, for us Jews, it is interesting to say that the one country that most mentioned by name in the Bible is Egypt, more than any other country that is mentioning in the Bible. And we all celebrate Pesach and we read the Haggadah of Pesach, and we tell the stories from generation to generation about the experience in Egypt. And we left Egypt and became a people, not in Egypt, but after we left Egypt, we became a people. Uh, and if we look into ancient documentation like the Cairo Geniza, we have wonderful spectrum of, I would say, Jewish experiences in Egypt. In the medieval time, well, I don't know if we have the time, Dora, to go into this because
Well, actually, there are many, many questions,
so
but
I will stop here and just recommend whoever is interested in this. There are so many wonderful studies on the pre-modern time, but if you just want a brief reading on this, please consider reading my book. The first chapter includes a lot of information about the pre-modern era.
thank you. The next question is, among Jews and non-Jews, what are the greater misunderstandings, myths, or overlooked factors about the story of the Jewish history in Egypt from its start to present day?
Oh,
Again,
More
a big question. I know that
questions.
you could write a full paper on all these
Yeah,
questions,
yeah.
basically, but
My
we'll
first,
try.
I would just suggest as a comment that I think, well, from my experience as historian and one who spent many visits to Arab countries and especially to Egypt, is to avoid generalization about this. You will find so many voices from the most extreme that still see Jews with this stereotypical um, mindset. I will just go back here now to a slide that I already showed. Uh, Listen to what Ruchaim has to say. I wanted to present a picture of the Egyptian Jew as a person far from the stereotypical and defective image identifying him as a sheep and having a long nose and all this. So why is saying this? First, because there are not few who still holding these stereotypical views. But at the same time, we should underline people like Ruchayem, who are not only not having this kind of stereotypes about Jews, but feel comfortable to talk in public, in the media, against these stereotypical views. So in short, it's a spectrum of uh, views that includes everything you would find in America, in Western Europe, and other places.
Thank you. You mentioned the synagogue that was sponsored by the government, the renovation. Is that true for all the renovations? That is it sponsored by the Egyptian government?
No. The answer, in short, no. The first synagogue that was rebuilt, renovated significantly, was this Ben Ezra historical synagogue that I mentioned with the Geniza. And this is back in the just after the signing of peace treaty with Israel. The Egyptian government allowed a Jewish organization, not an Israeli organization, but a Jewish organization, and a private donation to make this significant renovation. And this is just one example. The other kind of renovation sponsored, there are other synagogues sponsored by private Jewish, again, not Israelis, but Jewish sponsors or donors. But I think it will be interesting to point out that since the year 2008 onward, till now, any synagogue that was restored or renovated, the finance for this came from the government, from the Egyptian government.
Thank you. What is the Jewish population of Cairo and Alexandria today?
This is a very tricky and difficult to answer, and now you will see why numbers sometimes can make our life difficult. Okay, so very few Jews live today in Cairo, and very few. I would say that much, not more. Two hands, maybe. So we're talking about several individuals. However, it is interesting that in Egypt, like in many other countries, Arab countries and non-Arab countries, you easily can find citizens who have some Jewish roots. So people who will come and say, my grandmother, she married with a Christian or a Muslim. She convert or not convert into Islam. Um, I don't know. No one, I think, have the numbers about these families. I would estimate that we're talking about hundreds, if not thousands, of families with some Jewish, I would say, roots.
Thank you. What do Egyptian texts teach kids about the Jews in Egypt?
Well, for many decades, there was a mix, a kind of a mix between, I would say, uh, in one hand, not mentioning even the existence of local Jewish communities. Okay, not they were not there, and you will find I would say not few Egyptians even today, young and not young, who never met an Egyptian Jew. And some of them extremely surprised when you're telling them uh, Jews were integral part of this society and thousands of families lived in Egypt. They would, wow, I didn't know about it. Why they don't know? Because it was not in the, I would say, educational system. It was not in the syllabus. Um, this has been slightly changed, I would say, since the beginning of the 21st century. And there was more of expressions about the mosaic of the Egyptian society, including minorities. Um, but there's still a lot of work to do in this regard. We are far from having, I would say, a solid account about minorities in general, especially Jews.
Thank you. Is it safe for Jews to visit Egypt today? And if yes, are there areas that are safer than or less safe than others?
Well, I would say that the many visits that I had to Egypt, I felt secure, safe, uh, haven't find any kind of hostility. In general, Egyptians are very welcome for visitors, and Jewish delegations frequently visiting uh, uh, Egypt, including visiting after getting in touch with the local community. They can visit some of the Jewish sites, especially 2 or 3 synagogues uh, uh, in the city. Um, I, I would say that Israelis um, would not feel safe visiting today um under the circumstances of the war in Gaza, places like Egypt. This is quite obvious. No way, I would not recommend at all. But if you are not to, if you are not to, I don't know, go in central Cairo with a huge Magen David and or a yarmulke, then people would not people would not be, I would say, unfriendly or hostile.
Thank you. I know we are out of time, but Yoram, are you okay with answering a few more questions?
I'm here.
Okay. How many Jews of Egyptian descent live in Israel today?
Uh, well, I would say that uh, roughly speaking, uh, about 40, 5% of the community ended up in Israel. The majority, 55, maybe 60%, ended up in other countries, in Europe, North America, South America, Australia, many all over the world. About, I would say, the first generation comprised about, I would say, 35, maybe 45 maximum, 45,000 Egyptian Jews who decided to go to Israel, and the rest, as I said, other countries.
Thank you. Do the Jews who were Egyptian citizens who left Egypt after 1948 have a right to reclaim Egyptian citizenship?
Well, this is highly problematic, and there is here a heavy legal issue. Most of the Jews who left mainly during the 1950s, from 56 to 62, 63, they had to accept that they leave the country and there is no return, and they will not have their Egyptian citizenship if they had an Egyptian citizenship. Now, this is important because according to estimation, no one has the exact numbers, but according to estimation, only 30% held Egyptian citizenship. Others either don't have any citizenship or foreign citizenship. Can be, French or Italian or British, or whatever. So vast majority, big majority, had not having this Egyptian citizen. But for those who did have Egyptian citizenship, if they left in this time, they could not reclaim. I have never heard about someone who was able to reclaim his Egyptian citizenship. But maybe I'm wrong. I didn't investigate into this. I'm just my impression from reading other, I would say, sources.
Thank you. I wanted to ask Magda if she's here with us still, as you mentioned so many times, if she wants to say hello or say anything, as she is actually joining from Egypt. So if Magda, you are in the mood to say a few words before we close, then we'd love to hear from you as well.
Yes, well, good evening, everybody. I'm very happy to have all these people interested about Yoram's book, which for me is a pride. I'm very proud of this book because it's talking about what I have been doing for the past 12 years, 13 years, which is rehabilitation of the Jewish heritage and the Jewish presence in Egypt. As Yoram was saying, we are a very small, dying community. In a few years, there will be no more Jews in Egypt. But I would like that our presence will be known to the new generation and will be kept alive even if we are not there anymore. This is one thing. I can answer a question about the citizenship. If an Egyptian Jew left even after 67 or whenever he left, if he still has the birth certificate saying that his parents were Egyptian, his father and mother were Egyptian, and he was born Egyptian, he can reclaim his Egyptian nationality. I know that people had obtained their Egyptian nationality back.
Thank you
Uh,
so much for
You're,
sharing.
you're welcome.
You see, every time Magda speaks, I'm learning something new.
No, and I wanted to say also that the government recently renovated the Ben Ezra synagogue at their expenses. I mean, they're not doing this for churches, they're not doing this for mosques, because the congregation of the Muslim or Christian congregations are much more richer than we are, and they can renovate their own worship places at their expenses. As we are a handful, our congregation is constituted by a handful of old women who need help instead of giving money to the community. So the government is restoring as much as they can. They restore the Ben Ezra, and they're restoring the Rambam synagogue.
Maimonides.
Maimonides, yes.
Thank you so much, Magda, for speaking. It's lovely to have you here with us. I know there are still some questions in the chat, but I think each question could be like a whole article. So, and it's very late in Israel for Yoram, so we will close for today. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, for your curiosity and questions and comments and interest. We really appreciate all of you being here. And thank you, Yoram, for sharing your knowledge and about your wonderful book. So
Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming, and I'm delighted with this event and wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you, Yoram.
Bye-bye.
thank you, Yoram, and thank you, everyone. And of course, tomorrow we'll share with you this recording, and we'll also share with you the link to Yoram's book. And hopefully you will have the chance to learn a bit more about Egyptian Jewry.
It's a book you must have. It's a book you must have.
Thank you, Magda. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and we wish you a wonderful
Thank you.
rest
Thank you
of the
so much,
day.
Dora and Sebastian, also.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hey, have a good night, everybody.
Good night.
Have a good night or good day if you still have some of it.
Toda Rabah. Can't wait till we go to Egypt.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye from Bosnia. I tried.